Disney is going woke and going broke once again. The film production juggernaut refused to learn from the mistakes of Bud Light and Nike, pushing ahead with their hyper-woke remake of the Disney classic Snow White.
No longer 1937.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
And to no one's surprise, the move backfired on them, with the movie only bringing in $48 million during its opening weekend, despite costing a whopping $240 million to be made. And of those who did see the film, the ratings were abysmal, with a 2.4 out of 10 on IMDb and a 43% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, plus 1 out of 5-star rating from The Guardian. This theatregoer showed the extent of the flop, with hardly any seats taken in the theatre for the movie screening.
Be Rome. While enjoying the vibe and excitement of the streets of London.
Hey, what?
3 of the most beautiful cities in Europe. Yeah.
But it seems as though the delusion ran deep, with the lead, Rachel Zegler, adamant that there would be lines to see the film.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
And commentators are so fed up with the lead character that they're blaming the demise of the movie squarely on her.
We can start out with the creative bankruptcy of remaking another animated classic instead of making something new. But yes, it's all Rachel Zegler and her behavior. And if it was just one comment, it probably would have been forgotten by now. But it was comment after comment, and it was pissing off everybody, pissing off old Disney fans, pissing off new Disney fans, pissing off Trump supporters, pissing off all of America. And it became such a disaster that they had to shut her up, which was the smartest move they made. But the onus is all on her and Disney's reaction to it. And quite frankly, if she has said nothing, her movie, probably still forgettable, would have done a lot better.
And it seems this perspective could be right, with Rachel Zegler condemning Trump voters, pushing them away from seeing her movie. She shockingly said in a statement, "May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace." She then doubled down, saying she deserves to be paid for every stream.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Commentator Michael Knowles blasted the remake, saying every change from the original Snow White was for the worst.
Snow White is the first American feature-length animated movie, 1937. It's one of the most beloved movies of all time. Even if Disney had not fallen prey to wokeness and nonsense in recent years, even if Disney still had the most talented people in the world working with the best writers, with a good sense of narrative and the cultural moment, even if everything worked perfectly, it would have been almost impossible for this movie to succeed, because you're comparing it to one of the most beloved films of all time and a truly groundbreaking movie. And Disney was not sending its best. I sat through the whole thing. I don't want to say it was the worst movie I've ever seen. It wasn't. But every way that the movie changed the story from the original, the 1937 movie, or even from the original Grimm Brothers fairy tale, every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
Commentator Douglas Murray agrees, saying the movie is a stinker.
Oh gosh, Douglas, this remake is reportedly to have cost more than $200 million, and Disney seemed too scared to properly promote this movie.
It's quite interesting. Disney has had a terrible run of it because it's still as a studio trying to pump out the sort of material which might have been briefly thought to be a good idea in, I don't know, the summer of 2020, but really looks horribly dated and actually misreading the situation now. I mean, I think I've said to you before, Rita, but in general, when they do these remakes and they're done by people who hate the original, like, Snow White just has to be the woman she knows she can be and the leader she believes she can be. Maybe you should just invent a different story and call it something different. Disney seem to know that they've got another stinker of a movie here. I might be wrong, but they seem to know, rather like their pretty woke remake of Peter Pan a couple of years ago that bombed at the box office. Disney clearly know that they've got to silence their star. And that's why last week the huge launch of the film was in the middle of nowhere in Spain, at a castle that was said to have inspired the original cartoon. The castle in question is far away from most people. About 100 people were invited, which you can't say is the average sort of movie premiere setup. I mentioned in my post column, but as well as sending her to a far-off castle, you can't help thinking that Disney's executives must have been wishing they could also give the star a poisoned apple that would set her to sleep for many years, so that she didn't appear in front of the world's press again anytime soon and diminish the movie she's meant to be promoting.
Oh, I'm sure they have market tested the reaction to Rachel Zegler and found it to be enormously negative. So we can understand why they're trying to hide her. But you're so right. If you want to have this empowering story about a woman who doesn't need a prince to save her, it's all about her career and finding herself, whatever write a new story. Why do you want to trade off the Snow White title and then completely change the story that people have loved for generations? Douglas Murray, you and I need to get into Hollywood and just straighten that place out. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.